Hi, I'm Scott. Welcome back to Synth Stuff. Today we're going to be talking about generating sine waves from synthesizers that can't generate sine waves. Coming up. So this topic came about as a result of a posting on one of my videos where somebody was talking about the sine wave and that you really need a sine wave to reinforce the low end. And unfortunately, you could only use a digital synthesizer for generating sine waves because analog synthesizers are incapable of generating sine waves. I read that and I thought, well, that's totally inaccurate because analog synthesizers can generate sine waves. They typically don't, but I mean, if you look at the LFO, if you look at that LFO section, the LFO is a sine wave. I mean, if you look at it, it's a perfect sine wave. So clearly, analog synthesizers can generate sine waves. But the older synthesizers, like the Juno 106 and this SH101, the Poly 6 over here, they do not have a sine wave waveform on their oscillator selection. They have square tooth, sawtooth, triangle typically is what you're going to see. And the reason for that is because a sine wave, by definition, has no harmonics. So you can't do anything with it. If you take a sawtooth wave, because it has all those sharp edges in it, that generates lots of harmonics, which you can then shape and form in the filters and use to create all kinds of different sounds. A sine wave has no harmonics, so the filtering basically does nothing other than act like a treble control where you can cut off the frequency. You can't adjust the timbre or form the sound or modify the sound because there's no resonant signal there, no high frequency sound for the filter to shape and modulate. So for that reason, they typically didn't include them on those old synthesizers. But that doesn't mean the synthesizer isn't capable of generating them. All right, let's first look at the Hydrasynth. Hydrasynth obviously is a digital synth, but it's emulating a lot of analog functionality. If I go into Oscillator 1, we can tell it to generate a sine wave. And that way, when we play, you hear a sine wave. No harmonics. Let's put that back to a sawtooth, however. So you hear a sawtooth sound. What we're going to do is go into the filter section. We're going to hit filter 1, and we have different filters here. So I'm going to play a note. You can see there is a sawtooth. Now we're going to adjust the cutoff all the way down. So as you can see, as I'm adjusting the cutoff of that filter, it's going all the way down and cutting out all those harmonics until you have nothing left. Now we're going to turn up the resonance, which adds a peak at the resonant frequency. And you can hear a tone coming through there, very low frequency tone. If I play higher notes, and if you look closely, that's a sine wave. So what we're doing is by using key tracking. Now key tracking takes the input of what note we're playing and offsets the cutoff. Because what happens if I play a note with the resonant frequency up and then I adjust the cutoff, it adjusts that resonant peak, and that's the frequency at which the filter is self-oscillating. So if I have key tracking set, it physically moves that frequency of the cutoff of the filter as I play different keys, which allows me to play a sine wave at different frequencies. So let's have a look at the SH101. So the SH101 only has two different kinds of waveforms. It has a square tooth and it has a triangle, and we also have noise that we can use as well. We're not going to use that today. So let's play a note. So there's our note. I'm going to hold that on. That's a standard, well, it's actually a bit of both, but it doesn't really matter what we're playing here because we're going to be filtering all that out. We're going to filter out everything but the fundamental by using the frequency of the filter. Here we have that nice squelchy filter that the 101 is known for. And now we have just the tiniest bit of sound getting through. We're going to increase the resonance. And we can change the filter. And if you notice, we have the keyboard tracking all the way up. So now, by doing that, and what you're hearing there is a sine wave from a synthesizer that doesn't have a sine oscillator on it. Now, on the original posting, when I talked about doing this exact technique, his response was, well, that's only good for really high frequency sounds like you get from a resonant filter. And I said, absolutely not. You can get thundering, huge thundering bass out of this technique. Literally, you can't hear it because this is a direct recording, but my studio is shaking from the subwoofer emitting the bass that I'm playing right now. So you can get massive thunderous bass out of a sine wave generated from a self-oscillating resonant filter. Well, that's it. I hope you found that a little bit interesting and informative. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, hey, anything you want to say about this video, any suggestions for future videos, please leave them in the comments section below. I do read all those comments. And if you could just take 10 seconds, click like, subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out when you do that. Helps get my videos out to many more people, and which then helps me create more of these videos for everyone to watch. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching.